to get people to think like, how do we do the next big thing? It's always sourcing ideas. So we're very big on that, on sourcing the ideas. We're very big on people paying attention to themes as well. So if we keep hearing about things, it's kind of your job to make sure that you're escalating that and you're kind of maybe even designing what that would look like. And so how we do things like that is really more about, in my opinion, the mindset. We get the mindset right first. Of the people, which is it's a safe place no matter what. There's no wrong answer, and you've heard that saying, there's no such thing as a stupid question. There is the truth, but you can make it a very safe place where people can still feel comfortable to bring their ideas, and some will do, some we won't do, but they really have the ability to highlight it and to be able to kind of do things.
Welcome to Grow Think Tank. This is the one and only place where you will get insight from the founders and the CEOs of the fastest growing privately held companies. I am the host. My name is Gene Hammett. I help leaders and their teams navigate the defining moments of their growth. Are you ready to grow?
Today we're going to talk about a culture that fosters innovation. Innovation is something that a lot of companies center around. They make it their competitive advantage is to think differently than the competition, to push the boundaries. Your company may not be pushing all of the innovation buttons that it could. And today we're going to look at, what are some of the elements you could learn from organizations that are on the edge of innovation. And our special guest today is the COO of ZeroBounce. They are an email platform that helps you with deliverability, is a simple way to put it, I think. But we're meeting with Brian Minick, and Brian unpacks, how he creates a culture that fosters innovation. Get a little tongue-tied there, but you get my point. This culture of fostering innovation is about getting people to be okay with failure and even go beyond okay to actually give them space to fail. Brian unpacks a few stories in here about, what they've done to really provide the ability to support employees, even if the ideas weren't stellar. And so you'll find some joy in this because not everything works out, especially when you're talking about innovation. Failure is a part of the process. And today we talk about that culture that fosters innovation. And I feel good that I got that right. I didn't stumble on the words, but my job here is to help you be the leader that your team deserves. Think about those words for a second. Your team deserves a leader that is leading by example, one that is confident, one that is decisive, one that is calm under pressure, one that is able to have tough conversations when needed. Well, I help you and your team identify what's getting in the way of those elements and help you truly lead to the next level. We work with executives in one level, and we also work with managers to become leaders inside our organizations. I'm not sure what you want, what you're interested in, but if you want to have a conversation with me, just go to genehammett.com, schedule your call today. Now, here's the interview with Brian. Hey, Brian, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. We're going to have a great conversation about culture and innovation. Tell us a little bit about the company ZeroBounce.
Yeah, sure. So ZeroBounce is a email validation platform. We're a software as a service company. And our goal and mission is to help people or customers that have email data and they want to have good sending reputation for their marketing campaigns. And so what we help do is clean up the data that they have, especially when we're talking about business to business contacts where that data is churning and it is generally their single point of source of truth for a customer in their database. And so we kind of help make sure that they're sending to real people and also make sure that they maintain a good sending reputation by making sure they're not bouncing. So hence the word zero bounce.
Well, a lot of companies that I talk to, CEOs are talking about deliverability and they're moving from platform to platform. And sometimes it improves, sometimes it gets worse. What do you wish CEOs understood about deliverability?
Great question. Thank you. So our mission is getting you into the inbox. That is our company mission. So deliverability, my biggest thing that I would say and what I like to kind of educate people on is that if you're thinking about quantity, you've got it backwards. You have to think about quality and you have to be smarter in how you're kind of operating this space. So segmenting, putting targeted messages to the right people, all this kind of helps with inboxing. And also you want to make sure you're sending content to people that they actually want and signed up for. So getting marked as spam is a very detrimental metric towards your deliverability and getting into the inbox. And so for me, it's if I can simplify it, it's quality over quantity every day of the week.
Well, Brian, we're going to keep going with this this theme of talking about culture and leadership and growth.
Mm-hmm.
ZeroBounce, you guys have had a pretty fast growth. What do you think of the core elements of how your team performs and has been able to consistently perform that you could share with us today?
Sure. So some of the things that we do is so we're in startup mode. We will stay in startup mentality for as long as possible. That's something that I'm pretty passionate about. And the reason behind that is because I constantly see people just getting comfortable. They get into their little spot and they think they've got it. We're seeing competitors left and right, and they're putting out good products, and we have to continue to make sure we're going to outwork everybody. And that's the mentality and culture that we kind of put in place for everyone. Think of yourself as entrepreneurs, come up with the ideas. So in a way, we are really kind of fostering the ability and putting it into their head to act like you're an owner, right? And a lot of people want to be owners is also what I've found as a leader. A lot of people have that thought process that they wish they started a business, but they never had the idea. And we kind of give them the opportunity to say, hey, you might not be able to build the whole business, but you can build around what you work in, and you can design this, and we can change based on your thoughts and see what works. So we just really like to put a lot of ability, and I think the best way that I can think about it is maybe boundaries. So I don't like to have procedures that are so, click A, click B, click C. It's, you can play, here's out of bounds on the left side, here's out of bounds on the right side, and how we want to get there might be different by each person. So that's kind of a little bit just how we think about it and how we designed some of the different ways that our team's operating.
We also did some research on your company, and we've done some different interviews with people within the team. You really, put a high priority on innovation. Tell us about how you create a culture that fosters innovation.
Yeah. So to get people to think like, how do we do the next big thing? It's always sourcing ideas. So we're very big on that, on sourcing the ideas. We're very big on people paying attention to themes as well. So if we keep hearing about things, it's kind of your job to make sure that you're escalating that, and you're kind of maybe even designing what that would look like. And so how we do things like that is really more about, in my opinion, the mindset. We get the mindset right first of the people, which is it's a safe place. No matter what, there's no wrong answer. And you've heard that saying, there's no such thing as a stupid question. There is the truth, but you can make it a very safe place where people can still feel comfortable to bring their ideas. And some will do, some we won't do, but they really have the ability to highlight it and to be able to kind of do things. So a good example might be my support team, who is an inbound support team. They're dealing with chats and support tickets coming in. They had a lot of opportunities to create sales. And it's just, not something that from the very day one you really thought about. And then an idea came up, was like, hey, why don't we start offering promotions this way, right? And this was just a baby step, but it was an inch towards it, right? And I was like, wow, that's pretty smart. And we have a sales team, so maybe let's do a hybrid model where, you have a limit and we come up with the boundaries, right? That's kind of back to what I'm saying about the boundaries. So it's really hiring the right people is also another big piece of this. You have to get people that are really interested in this type of stuff. They're not just here to do a job. And so that's been a big challenge as well. And we've failed many times here, to be very honest. And so I think that's important to know when you fail there and make some changes when you need to. And I don't know if you want to get into that later, but happy to. And so, it's really, and it's consistency. So it's not maybe the first time their idea wasn't the best and we shelved it. But even what I've found to be very successful, and probably the biggest takeaway I can give for you and the audience here, is we have done things even if we thought it's wrong, because it's made that person grow and break that shell down. And so maybe the idea wasn't the best, but they came in it with such passion behind it, and this roar that they can almost create their own company from within it. And as a leader, if you might step back and say, well, how's this going to impact the business? You run your checklist, right? Like, do I want to do this? How much is it going to cost? We have made decisions to do something simply to get behind the employee. And so that has, in my opinion, really shifted the ability for someone to say, I'm not going to say something, versus I don't care, I'm going to say it, right? And that is a small change that has big impact. And that's just kind of one thing that we've done to kind of get past that.
I want to zero in on this failure kind of stuff, not in your personal failures. We might get into that in a second, but like a culture where failure is okay, or even celebrated. I've had that, come up quite often. If you're on the edge of innovation, I think that you've got to talk about failure in a very different way than what
Mhm.
most companies are willing to talk about. How do you guys, position failure in your company?
So yeah, failure is a must, and anyone who's not thinking like this, I think you're handcuffing yourself here. Failure is a must because without failure, you're not trying. And so when we do things, it's not about, sure, of course we want to succeed. That's the given. But when I think about the failure side, it's, well, did it do anything? Because people define failure, I think, in many different ways also, right? So you might set up this project and this project is supposed to bring in sales, but the project didn't bring in sales, right? So is it a true failure? Well, maybe, but maybe not. Maybe it brought you a ton of PR. Maybe it brought you a ton of brand awareness. Maybe it brought you a bunch of other things. And so, yes, it might not have accomplished your goal, but did it hit some other goals that maybe you're not even thinking about because all you're focused on is your laser goal of maybe it's more sales. So failing has many meanings, in my opinion. It can be a total failure. That sucks. No one loves those, but they're necessary. And I think it's not about how you fail or what you failed on. Sorry, I believe it's actually how you fail and how you recover from that and how you keep going. And so, if you can't take a little failure, I think you're going to fail. Is really just the truth, because you have to fail in order to succeed. And we look at it as incremental steps. So success for me might only be a 1% increase, a 2% increase on something, right? That's still success. Some might call that failure, but when your mindset's the right way and you're fostering the team to have this innovation culture, we can compound those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5%ers, and all of a sudden you're 50% better over the course of a year, but you did a bunch of small things that succeeded, and maybe some failed. And so that's just how we kind of think about it. Is you have to do something, and to me, it's more important to do it than to worry about if you're going to fail too. So you got to just push through.
Now, Brian's been talking about failure. My hope is that you create a place where people are playing to win and not playing to lose. Playing to not lose. Sorry. When they're playing not to lose, it's like that prevent defense inside of the NFL. It rarely works. The quarterback steps back and takes, they have space to get things done that they didn't earlier in the game because they're in prevent mode. But you know what? I think they should be playing to win. Hopefully you agree with me. Inside your business, when failure is something that you are shy away from and you're not really quite sure about it, you'll never innovate. You will struggle to create the new stuff that your company probably needs to keep moving and keep evolving, stay ahead of the competition. My hope is that you see failure as learning, not as something to avoid, but what do we get from it, and then keep moving forward. Back to Brian. When you are trying to, engage the team to think differently and trying to get them to innovate, and I don't know what we would see across your organization if we looked at, would you have like days where you guys are taking projects and trying to innovate programming wise or something like that, or service wise, or is there some other type of approach that you guys have taken that's like me outside the norm to get people to innovate?
That's a good question. So I think we've done a little bit of creating kind of environments for them to do it. But at the same time, we're very ad hoc and we're very, now focused. So in my opinion, you can bury yourself in planning when you're in a startup phase, right? You can spend more time talking about it than doing stuff. And that's a major problem, in my opinion, with a lot of startup companies and a lot of people who are trying to get successful there. But, I'm trying to give you a good answer here on how I really think about it. But we do create a lot of incentives, and I think maybe that's a good way of thinking about it for my sake is, for example, on every single person in our company receives a budget to do professional or personal development, and they're able to kind of take that, and maybe they're thinking of new ideas, maybe they're improving their skills. But as far as the innovation side, it's sparked. Something just happens, right? Or something came up, and then that turns into, well, I have an idea. And so we hone in on that in real time. I would say more than, all right, guys, next month, we're going to do a 30-minute brainstorming event. I don't think that would be heavily successful. I could be wrong. But to me, the good ideas come when the moment hits you. And we kind of try to key in on that right then and there and take that moment and let them run with it there. So send an email, have a chat with us. We do one-on-ones with everybody, and everybody just really has an opportunity to get their voice heard, whether it's through your manager or someone else.
Now, Brian was talking about innovation, and I love the concept. I remember one story I've had on the podcast, and I can't remember the company, But one of the things they do is, as a ritual, they picked one part of the company. One month it might be sales, the next month it might be marketing, one month it might be operations or customer service or customer success, and it could be financials. But you take one part of the company and they rally together and they think about how we can improve the processes. And I thought this is a really good idea of constant improving and innovation on what we've already done. And they take different things every month. And then everyone comes in that wants to. It's completely optional. And the CEO and all authority goes out the door. They actually pick a team lead for this that will, take all the information. They'll start to prioritize the actual things, and they'll meet on it weekly and execute on all the projects they can do within that month. And it's just really great to see that this is something that you could do inside your company if you wanted to make innovation a part of your everyday life. Just an idea for you is another way to look at innovation across the teams. Back to Brian. Brian, let's switch gears on leadership styles. I know that a lot of companies, you change as your company grows from one place to the next, and different, when you have, 8 employees, it's very different than when you have 80.
Yeah.
How is your leadership style today?
So I have tried not to change it. However, I think some necessary adjustments have to be made. So when we were very small, I did everything, and it was part of everything. And one of the biggest things and hardest steps, I would say, was to take that little half step back. And I call it a half step because that's all I was comfortable with in the very beginning, right? Is that it's like a half step. It's like, okay, I trust you. Do I trust you? And it's mental games here on a leader, right? And I think it's natural to have these feelings because you're driving the business, right? And you're very responsible for the results, and you want to see it succeed. Not hopefully, but probably more than anyone else. It's just the truth. And so taking that kind of half step back and being able to say, all right, I'm a doer. So just my background, I'm a doer. You hand me any project, I don't care what it is, even if I don't know how to do it, I will figure it out. And that's been a key to my own personal success here. But so you can't do that when you have 70 employees. It can't be just about you anymore. It can be when there's 10. It can't be when there's 70. And so learning how to try to take what you've learned and how you got there and instill that mentality, set and lead by example, and let them kind of turn into those people if they can and if they want to, has been really actually inspiring for myself, makes me want to be better. So I have a lot of people that are like, gosh, I just want to, like, how did you do this? And I just outwork you, period. That's how I'm going to do it. And so if you want to learn how I did it, just outwork everybody. I did late nights. I did, there was nothing that was going to get in my way, is my mentality, even if I failed. And so I just think I try to do a lot of those type of things and bring back the thought process of they can do it. And I want them to do it better than me. And that was a very difficult transition, to be very honest. It was very hard to be able to take that half step, which is now saying a full step back, and let them try to start running with it. And you have to trust them. And some might fail. 70 employees, not everyone's going to be a rock star. It's just a fact. But you're hoping you have them.
Was there a mindset shift that you feel like you can point to that said, okay, this is kind of where it all transformed for me?
Is there a mindset shift? So yes, when I realized I couldn't do it all anymore. So I think I got slapped in the face with, okay, this isn't sustainable, right? I mean, that was probably around the 30 employee mark. So that was when it was like, gosh, spending a lot of time on this. I need to fill this role. Like I need to get a role in place here to do this. But really the biggest thing was the encouragement that I saw from our team members, which again, I think goes back to that bigger picture of getting them in the right mindset, incentivizing them to get in the mindset as well, and them wanting to take it over. Right. I was actually really proud of moments like that where my sales guys are like, Brian, we don't need you on the call. We got it. And I'm like, perfect. And I'm like, really? Like, that's awesome. Because it also started out the other way. Like, I need you on every call. So just to make sure I'm not trying to be cocky or ignorant. It was, I need you on every call to a point then of, hey, we got it. We'll call you in if we need you. And that was really kind of monumental steps in my head of, wow, we got here. It took time and it was painful and there was errors and all that. But little things like that, I think really kind of started to hit the mark.
Well, appreciate you unpacking that for us about your mindset shift there. I don't know if there's anything else. We've been talking about a culture that fosters innovation. Is there anything I've left out that you feel like is important?
No, I would just say the one thing is investing back into your people. I think that's so important and commonly either forgotten or overlooked, or maybe not prioritized. Maybe that's a better way to look at it. It's like, well, I could spend that money doing X instead. But we have found it to be so valuable, and the loyalty that you get from that from your people. I mean, I have guys that have been there since day one. They're still here. They don't want to go anywhere because they're like, it's their home, and they don't think they could find something like this anywhere else. And I'm sure you could. Not going to get cocky with that, but it's really kind of let them settle in. And again, when they want to kind of in their head think they can run the business too, and run these little kind of segments of the business operations, I think it's really important. It's been something that I found to be very successful for us.
Well, that's our time together, Brian. I really appreciate you being here and sharing your wisdom.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, Gene.
Great call today. Really love talking about innovation. I really want to be more innovative inside my own company and push the boundaries of the things that we're doing. We're also not, pretty tried and true. We're not a technology company. What we do is proven, and the processes we take, but I think we can learn from innovation. Hopefully you feel like it was a useful conversation. If there's anything we can help you on, whether it be executive coaching, whether it be manager coaching, whether it be leadership development as a system inside your company, make sure you reach out to us. We'd love to help. When you think of growth and you think of leadership, think of Growth Think Tank. As always, think courage. We'll see you next time.